Hello?
Hello, this is Fam Electric Ghost. We have Lord Toph.
Yes, this is Lord Tough. How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Well, thank you for being on the show. This is the Fam Electric Ghost podcast, and we've been interviewing indie artists since 2018, and we've reached 24,000 listeners worldwide. So we're very excited to talk to you tonight.
Thank you.
So you've been pushing or working on your project, which you have a GoFundMe for, on project. So we didn't know if we wanted to talk about that first or go through our standard questions. It's your call.
Well, actually, it really doesn't matter. I'm just honored to be on your show. So you go ahead and take the reins or take the wheel, and I'll just follow along.
Okay, well, we'll get to that because we are going to promote it on the actual podcast itself. We'll put the links so people can go to that project.
Thank you.
But what we usually do is we start in with somebody's whole history and what their raison d'etre is. So we ask the question like, when did you first get? What age?
Could you say that one more time? When did I first? I didn't hear the.
Being interested in music.
Oh, I see. Well, music was something that was always surrounding me when I was growing up. My mother was my biggest influence. I grew up with three brothers, and each one of them had their own, I guess, favorites in the music industry. But my older brother and I, we were the ones that really got into the music aspect as far as singing goes. But my mother did a lot of soul singing and even sung Aida and opera pieces that she could mimic. I would grow up listening to my father playing Swan Lake or some other opera on Sunday mornings or on the weekends. So I was always surrounded by music, different facets of it, from rock to pop to funk to country to, as I said, opera and classical. And so I would say in my single years, that's when I was really, really wanting to follow the music path.
So that's when you actually had started to work on music, when you were in your teens?
I would say really early. My parents would always play music, and there was one particular artist that I guess they realized I caught on to really well, and that was when they were playing Al Green. So I started, I started growing up mimicking Al Green's stage performance and even his voice at a young age. With all his little purrs and his growls in between his phrases. Yeah,
I saw in your bio, I saw that you name checked like Love and Happiness, Call Me, You Ought to Be With Me, Let's Stay Together. So you really
yeah. That's how I made my little summer allowance when either guests or my relatives would come to our house. My mother would get my microphone. It was just something that it was just whatever she could find that resembled a microphone around the house, and that would give me my bit of confidence. And I'd start doing my little leg shaking and crooning for the audience there, and that's how I'd make my change to go buy my honey buns or my candies or anything like that. Yeah.
So you had a love for great soul artists. I also read Michael Jackson, Sam Cooke, and then on the rock side, Elvis Presley, and you said you had this a varied background where you love multiple genres.
Elton John, Peter Frampton, Alice Cooper. And then, even Gary Wright. And this all came from I know these are much older artists, but, I was the baby, and I was listening to, what my much older brother was listening to and what my parents were listening to. So that's kind of how.
That's no problem. I'm in my 50s. I grew up in the in the 70s, and I'm a big my musical taste goes from like Sun Ra to Parliament Funkadelic.
Oh yeah.
To the Doors, to listening.
Oh yeah.
To bands, I'm just all over the map. I listen to the Velvet Underground. I listen to the Clash. I'm just everywhere.
There you go. Yeah.
But,
that's excellent.
Yeah, well, if you're a musician, I'm a musician. I'm a keyboardist, so I'm gonna dive into like Bernie Worrell, but I'm also gonna be like listening to Pete Townshend's approach to synthesis. Yeah.
Because
I'm a synthesizer guy, so I look into at all the great synthesizer players. Stevie Wonder, one of the greatest ever. Totally underrated because you always get people talking about Yes, and they're talking about Tony Banks from Genesis, but like Stevie Wonder on the Dream Machine. On Intervisions and on Songs in the Key of Life is one of the greatest synthesizer players ever to play the instrument.
Right.
If you think about the stuff he did was super innovative, and you get all these progressive bands that people talk about, and I love those bands. I have all of those records, but you always hear a lot of synthesis people tend to leave Stevie out when he's one of the greatest synthesists ever.
Yeah, that's very true. My brother. My eldest brother turned me on to The Secret Life of Plants with Stevie Wonder.
Oh, I love that record. That's a totally unknown record. I mean, Send One Your Love. Send One Your Love is what everybody knows, but they don't know where it came from. They don't know where it came from.
The album, like what Venus, the Venus Flytrap.
Oh yeah,
is that one of them?
Yeah, it's just a concept album. It's just like listening to like Pink Floyd.
Sure.
Just like listening to like Tommy or something. It's a concept album.
Right. Except it didn't get that kind of a promotion back in its day, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally underrated, but it's brilliant. I mean, as a keyboard player, I listen to it real heavy because the stuff he was doing on it's even more innovative than what was on, Intervisions or Songs in the Key of Life.
Right.
And being the kind of musician I am, I'm a progressive like funkster. I'm into like Bernie Worrell, Funkadelic, like I said, and that's the kind of Sun Ra. A band like Sun Ra, one of the first jazz bands to ever use synthesizers, was the Sun Ra, which is an unsung great American progressive jazz band, and it's just that kind of work always. I get drawn into, but I digress.
Right. No, that's okay. I love listening to people's influence and stories and what piques their interest as far as music goes. That's always a beautiful thing.
Well, when you started talking all about all those classic musicians and the people you love, it kind of when you mentioned like Alice Cooper, that's a great progressive kind of rock band, kind of predated Bowie. What Bowie did.
Right. And of course, I can't even. I'm sure you saw my my influence with Bowie.
Yeah.
Even did a remake on his song "China Girl," which once we can get past the whole 6 foot to 20 foot social distancing, maybe I can get that video finished. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Bowie to me, the one great thing I remember Bowie said is like he decided to go with theater, right? To go to kind of this other me version of himself, right?
Yeah.
Because when he came out as David Jones, it didn't work. He had an album in the 60s. He did it, without being Bowie, trying to do it straight.
Sure.
It didn't work. And when he came out with this theatrical version, this other me, this Ziggy
Stardust, yeah.
It just opened up the world that wow, you can do what Lady Gaga does today is very influenced by that. But that to me is just becoming like Alice Cooper is another person who does that. Freddie Mercury was like this other other version of himself. Prince, I mean that the kid, the parade. The parade version of Prince. And every version he had a different character, just like Bowie.
Yeah. There was, let's see, there was Jamie Starr.
Yeah.
There was Alexander Nevermind. There was
Camille.
Camille, right? And there was Well,
Yeah, I mean, he has
yeah,
multiple variations.
yeah,
There's even a
yeah,
version that we never
sure.
saw called the teal version. But like, he actually created a character
Wow.
called the teal version of himself with Tim
Oh,
Burton.
wow.
There's a
Oh,
there's
wow.
a 20-minute unseen video that Tim Burton did, and there was this album called Teal that was never put out. I'm a total Prince fanatic, and he did this.
Okay.
He kind of did this new envision. He re-envisioned himself. He tried to create another version of himself, but the record label looked at it and they were like, "This is too much." So
Sure, sure,
the
sure.
Warners wouldn't put it out. So he was like, "Okay, that's another one goes in the vault." But
Yeah, yeah,
one day
yeah.
we'll see the teal version. They're focusing on a reissue of Sign of the Times, but I've been kind of like,
Wow.
I want to see teal.
There was Tora Tora also,
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
there?
Tora during the MPG, like Emancipation days. Yeah, because I
Uh,
have Exodus, and
speaking of, I didn't mean to interrupt, but if I could just interject, it's interesting because he was such a very, very underrated guitarist, let alone with other instruments that the man plays. I mean, what does he play? 28 instruments?
yeah. I mean, his guitar playing is a cross between Santana and like Hendrixian, and then
Hendrix,
yeah,
yeah.
and then he even has some like like Bootsy, like bass
Oh,
playing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
His bass playing is very much
Oh, God.
totally centered in
He,
funk.
he's a monster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
total
monster
monster.
on bass.
Oh, total
Um,
monster.
what was that song? Off his Controversy album. I'm going way back because
Oh yeah.
I was in, I was introduced to Prince by musicians that were really really good friends of mine. I think in a way, we're all great friends now. Not to get off too much, but they were such big Prince fans. In fact, they were pretty much like a tribute band.
Mm-hmm.
And I was this artist, not really looked at as a musician because I couldn't play instruments back then. I would have to always kind of hum the parts to someone, kind of the Boy George process of relaying my songs so that I could sing the different parts of the like this is what the bass sounds like, and I could make the bass noise, I could make the guitar noise, and I could that so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always looked over as being a musician. In fact, my Google page says musical artist, and that always reminds me of that. I think I've got this imposter complex when it comes to that.
Well, you
But
shouldn't feel so bad because James Brown, that's what he did, and
yeah,
Michael Jackson did that too.
right, yeah, and I finally, because I had to start playing. I wasn't getting my songs recorded fast enough, so I had to start. First I started playing the bass, and I started really early with the bass actually, and I kind of put it down. I wish I'd stayed with it at 14, 15, and then I started. Someone, one of those band members that I was speaking of from the band that was. They weren't my rivals or anything, but it was almost like I was the Richie Cunningham of the bunch whenever I came around. I wasn't quite cool enough.
Oh
but
yeah,
I,
I've been in that situation being a keyboardist because they're like, guitar players and bass players are like, oh, you're just a keyboard player,
Sure, yeah, and plus I wasn't in their band, but one of the members, he had an affinity for me. I mean, they all were chums from school, but he started lending me his keyboard, and he says, "Look, I'm not going to always be able to help you out because we got to play gigs and things, but here you can just borrow my board." And I was like, "Really?" And it kind of grew from there. And then he said, "I'm going to show you how to use a 4-track." And then it grew
Cool.
from there. And the next thing, I bought my first guitar, and then I'd already had the background of a bass guitar, and my mother bought me a kalimba I think I was like maybe 11 or 12 because of Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I just started playing the instruments that I slowly collected over the years. She bought me a little acoustic guitar, but when I was in my early years, but that didn't count. That didn't count. I wasn't really playing that.
What
Anyway,
kind of 4-track? What kind of 4-track did you have?
Oh, I remember. Well, I didn't have it. I remember it was alone, but
It
it
was
was
only
a, yeah, it was a false text, a false
oh,
text.
Fawcett. Yeah, yeah. I have a tab.
I think that's it. And then later, he got another one. He got an 8 track, and
Mm,
he let me borrow that as well. And
yeah,
then I got to where, once they taught me the whole balancing track over to this track, so I could take,
yeah.
make 4 into 8 or 8 into 16.
16. Yeah,
Oh,
he went crazy. He went start going
oh
crazy.
yeah, they were like, listen to him, And then I was doing all the things that I couldn't do on an instrument. I just
Hmm.
started recording tracks, like, doing all the,
All that
and all,
Motown
all
stuff. That
yeah,
Motown stuff.
all the drum beats and things with my voice, percussion and little, hand claps and snaps, and then just little insanities in between. And then I would start singing, and then doing my background vocals. And so that really helped me have the confidence to really start venturing uh, more into the learning the instruments that I wanted to play, and then arranging came easily once I was playing the bass, playing the guitar, playing the harmonica, and playing, um, programming my own drums and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think what's great about talking to singer-songwriters or people who are music producers or general artists is like their thought process and how they come to, view soundcraft. I was watching a documentary about George Martin
Oh yeah.
from the Beatles, right?
Oh
And
man. Yeah, I love George Martin. I
and
love
the
the.
thing he made this very interesting statement. The statement was, he used to just do production for like Peter Sellers
That's
comedy
right.
records.
And yeah,
Right?
and television,
Yeah,
short and
television.
things like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what he said, his advantage coming into when he started producing the Beatles was that, well, you know what? He had this idea. Well, I don't want to just like Xerox or copy the sound that's live.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
want to look at a painting like Monet, right? And
Mm.
a painter doesn't just Xerox life; they interpret it, and
Ooh.
right, and then
Yeah.
they create. What I do is I create a sound painting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can I interject on that point?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say I didn't know he said that, but that's how musicians really started. That's where the divide actually started closing, or becoming less of a divide, because musicians started understanding me because I had to create my own language, and I let them know that, because I'm sure I don't know if you've seen any of my artwork as a painter, but I had to start explaining to them that I see sounds, and that's the only way I can get this point across to you. And I would start painting the sounds, and explaining to them. I was like, okay, well, and I would draw pictures and show them what the notes were doing. I didn't know I still don't today. I can't read uh, B flat from Z minor, which is no such thing. But they started understanding me, especially when I was. Uh, there's this one musician that I named. His name was Joe, but I gave him the nickname Chief, and he was so proficient with his theory and jazz and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
he was a nice guy, but oftentimes musicians have this hierarchy kind of attitude,
Yeah. Yeah.
and especially when they have this background, that background. And I said, look, man, I wish you could understand what I'm saying. He's like, but I'm playing what you're telling me to, and it's a such and such so and so note. I said, listen, I don't know all that, but I'm gonna tell you, you're not playing it right. And
Mm-hmm.
my drummer would nod his head like he's right, and then my bassist would, and then I got to the point where my other musicians were on my side because they like listen to him. He knows what he's talking about. He may not know the notes, but he knows what he's talking about. And I was like, your timing's off. And it was this funk lick to a song of mine. Oh my gosh, I think it's called "Give Up the Ghost." One of my songs. no pun intended, Phantom Electric Ghost. But and I was letting him know, it's like, no. I said, look, if you can just hit it like this, it's woman naked, chicken naked. And he's like, what? And I explained to him. And he's like, but I'm playing doodle I'm playing doodle doodle.
Yeah.
That's too loose. No. I said, it's tight. I said, it's woman naked, not naked, naked. Woman naked, chicken naked. And this guy came back the next day, an hour and a half before everybody got to practice. And he was showing me that he worked all night. And he said, I stayed up until I was sleeping. He said, I got this rhythm down. And he played that rhythm, and that kid knocked it out the park. I swear he did, because he knew how to tighten up those strings and that woman chicken, and he was hitting that wah-wah. And oh man, I said, that's it. And we sat out by my pond and fed my ducks. I had ducks at the time, and we had a laugh. And when the guys got there, he was like, let's start off with this song. And they were just like, damn, what happened to you overnight? He said, I started understanding his language. He's like, when he breaks it down like this in these as as abstract as it is, he said, it makes sense. And he said, and then I know, he's talking about a such and such. And for him, he could only relate it to music. Relate things to like a truck going down the street. And and that's what I heard. I'm sorry, it was a milk truck actually, and it was hitting potholes going down the street. And that's how I wrote like one of my first favorite songs called "Living Like a Vagabond," which I'm gonna put out on my double album coming. But anyway, I rattle off too much.
No,
I got excited with what
that's
you
why
said
I try
about.
to explain to people, like, if you think about like Hendrix also talked about sound paintings when they asked him about Electric Ladyland, right? And they asked him, like, why does it sound that way? Right? Why do we hear ocean? Why do we hear birds? Why do we hear all these cosmic sounds? And he said, it's a sound painting. And the thing about Hendrix is that Hendrix would do anything to get the sound, right? He would find any kind of way to get at it. He would go and play a harpsichord and he never played it before. He'd go pick up Noel Redding's bass and like play it, because it's like Noel wasn't getting the line. He wasn't picking it up. He would even jump on the drums and show Mitchell what he was talking about. Very much like the way Prince does it. Even Stevie Wonder jumps on the drums. I think sometimes when you're an artist, you like know what you want, and if you can't write it down, Hendrix couldn't write. Stevie can't write, but so write it down on the paper. So it doesn't mean you can't be one of the greatest artists in the world. you can still do it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of African Americans, we have this innate capability, from jazz and hip hop. We created all these forms, and
rhythm.
It's
rhythm. I mean, we get teased by by other cultures and other races about that's kind of like a private joke, but everybody knows it. Like all black folks have rhythm.
I mean, it's like, I think
it's not true, but But in some aspect, rhythm does come innately for, I would say, quite a few of us.
We can just jump into. Like at one time, I mean, I've been in bands for years, and when I played with African American like jazz drummers versus like a rock drummer, like I would play with like a rock and roll drummer. And then I was like, well, I played with my African American jazz drummer, and we were like totally in sync, like all the time. I go play with this rock drummer, and he's doing like a John Bonham, and that's fine. That's fine, but it was different, and I would adjust. I would say, okay, I'm going to play like that, or I would go and try to get him to play more like the jazz drummer.
Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to let it go and say, okay, this is this guy's capability. And maybe I can work with that and actually turn it into something different. That's why I think the cool thing about being a musician is, you work with people, you see where their limits are, you see how far they can go. And then sometimes, I can take that limitation and I can actually work it and turn it into something else.
Right, yeah. Well, that's what I guess kind of gave me my boost, because musicians started, I don't want to say, putting the word out, but they, I guess would put in a good word or two to other musicians about me and say, well, he knows his stuff, and he's got a body of work, and which I did, but I wasn't able to translate it as I am today, but I was raw and I was hungry trying to get that point across, and they appreciated that, because when I don't want to say at the end of the day, but let's say at the end of the bar, we all want to have a good song, and I could write that, and they were happy to be playing it, and which made me happy in return.
So from the days of the 8-track, 4-track, 16-track recorder to now, where we have digital audio workstations and MIDI controllers and keyboard based controllers, so musicians can go into MPC, Akai MPCs, and use all kinds of alternative input. And so now today, as a musician, you could go into an Akai MPC and put together a song without knowing how to play a keyboard, and you can do all this grid based, non guitar or non keyboard based production.
Sure.
Did you transition, in your career from doing the 4-track, 16-track, 24-track to doing the DAW work, and then be able to even do more expression because of the DAW?
I caught up, and I work in Pro Tools now, but I still do a lot of the I don't want to call them techniques. I don't really do the MIDI. I do the individual tracks, and I call it, much like I used to call the bass, the drums, and the keyboards bone instruments. Keyboards kind of like borderline, but piano, bass, drums, those are bone instruments to me. And so once I started, went from the 4-track to 8-track to now at Pro Tools and the current version of it. That logic, luckily, I was able to transcend as well as what's the word? Transition. Yeah, and I was able to apply those things that I learned from scratch. Like now, there's still so many things and I guess say drop down menus and buttons and inputs and outputs that I don't even fool with. I'm just like, that's out of my head.
That's recording engineer territory.
That's foreign. That's exactly. I was just about to say that, but I still respect people that are really into that. But if I can write up to 3 songs in a day and then translate them from my board to Pro Tools or from my guitar, and I'm not, mind you, I've mentioned guitar and learning how to play. I'm no guitarist, so I'm just putting that out there now for people that are guitarists.
Well, you're a songwriter, like multi-instrument,
Yeah. That's a great way to say it. And I've produced other independent artists, but it's not like I'm trying to say, oh, I'm this accomplished artist. No.
Well, I think a lot of people, what they don't realize is like sometimes, you don't have to be Eddie Van Halen, you don't have to be Hendrix. You could get on the guitar, and if you're a singer-songwriter, it's the whole piece, right?
It's the whole pocket.
Thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to be technically the best guitar player in the world. You could still create like a very affecting song without having those capabilities. And some people that they don't remember that. I think it's interesting though. You said you don't kind of use the MIDI capability. You still kind of track it like you were punching in, punching out, like in the old days. You still kind of you run it that way, because that's the way I have to record.
I can do all the multiple tracks. in my board, my workstation. But when it's time to record, I just record them individually, and then I'm ready to start saying, okay, this track is going to be, it's going to sound like this when it gets close to the mixing process. And what I mean by that is like, okay, then I start choosing the color that it's going to be. Meaning, is it going to be hot pink? Is it going to be fuchsia? Or is it going to be raspberry? What's it gonna look
you start
like?
applying all the
that sound
and all the different things.
Right,
you can
exactly.
change the color, you can choose.
That's right, and that's what lets me know I'm on the right track. Not midieing and getting all caught up in the inputs and things like that, and getting lost in the effects.
That's probably why. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of times. When I've been talking to a lot of people today, they're like the DJ, universe of the EDM artists and some of the hip hop artists.
Yeah,
they get caught up in the plugins and all the MIDI channels and all the details
and the samples and stuff.
And more samples
and the banks.
And I'm an analog guy. Like I'm a keyboardist. I use like Modes and Prophets and
and stuff
like Jupiters, and so I like to capture the sounds of those instruments because they're very much like real acoustic instruments. Like a mini Moog from 1974 is just as vital as a 74 Fender Strat. It can sound a certain way. We go looking, keyboards. We go looking for certain years on Moogs and Prophets and Jupiters for certain character, and it's all about the character or the palette of the sound. Right. So I'm totally into that. That's where I live is finding those analog instruments that can have those sounds.
It's funny that how you say you go looking for them. I had this musician friend of mine when I lived upstate New York. When I first moved to New York, and I say that because I moved from the South. When I first moved to New York years ago, I met this musician friend, and he was actually, his title, professional musician. I mean, he had worked with everything but the girl, that or synth pop.
I know who they are.
He had worked with Diane Warren. He had worked with just many musicians, many
session musician, like a professional session,
right. And even though she's a lyricist, am I correct?
She's a big lyricist, yeah.
But he was telling me about one time when he went with Kenny Kirkland, which played with Sting and the Blue Turtles.
That's a great album. Yeah.
The jazz keyboardist. He passed away not too terribly long ago, but he mentioned that he went with him to his storage building. I can't remember if it was down like in Dumbo or Chelsea area, someplace. But he had the storage facility, and he said he had over 28 different keyboards in there. And he was just like, damn, man, when are you gonna use all these? He's like, I'm always using them. He's saying he rotated them out. But so I know it's true that especially when you get to that level of musicianship, being a virtuoso, it's kind of like looking for the top shelf or a rare wine or something.
Yeah, I saw a documentary.
Or something.
Yeah, I saw a documentary on Keith Richards, and one time he showed up at a studio, right? He had a semi, and in the semi he had like 200 guitars. And he had a guitar tech, and they would go out, and he'd go tell his guitar tech to go out to the truck and go grab a guitar for a certain section of a song when he was cutting his solo albums. And he was just rotating all these guitars in and out. But for certain, overdubs, he was looking for certain years and certain models to get that tone. Yeah. So I mean, I'm totally, you get guys like Jimmy Page that do the same type of thing, but that's very common, on acoustic instruments. What people don't realize with all this whole plug-in world. Yeah, I understand it, and I have digital stuff, but I think the analog stuff, just like today, a lot of people have realized the reason Moog came back to life, the reason Prophet sequential circuits came back to life from the 90s is because these tones, you can create your own. You don't have to buy somebody else's sound. You can make your own sound.
Oh yeah. People hunt. They hunt for the Lindrum like
that's
like
a holy
it's a
grail of
black
drum
pearl
machines
or
next
something.
to an 808.
Yeah. They hunt that thing down. Yeah. And meanwhile, where somebody's got a semi full of guitars. Meanwhile, on the other side of the spectrum, you've got somebody like rest his soul, Kurt Cobain, who can just take his dirty guitar and and even tune it down, way down, or leave it untuned, and still make beautiful raw music with
Lou
it.
Reed didn't really care what he was using. He did most of the time they was out of tune. Jack White takes like $100 plastic, like catalog guitar, and shows that you can. It really is a player. I mean, you can get into the thing. I mean, I do I do field recordings. Like if I like to do samples, I do it like the old way. I go out in nature and do a field recording of birds.
Oh, nice.
Or I'll break glass and capture it on a field recorder and get sounds like ambient sounds. That's what originally electronic musicians, we were doing stuff like that, trying to get granular synthesis, granular synthesis and that type of thing. And as more people are getting into that, more people are doing more Eurorack, granular synthesis, samples of actual, found sounds.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of where I live in the world I live. But it's interesting, like you're using a DAW in a way that some people don't. They dive into all that stuff that's going on today. But it's interesting to hear where you're coming from, and given the history of the bands and the artists you like, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah,
where you are. So do you have your own home recording studio, or you go to the physical studios? I mean, you probably have your own home arrangement, then you go to a bigger studio?
I can't really say at this point in my life, my upstate home, the home I used to have upstate New York, that was a home studio because the house was, it's 120 years old now. It was 1900 and it had 4 levels to it. And it also had a carriage house. So I converted the carriage house into my home studio. It truly was. Wow. I had a pond out to the side of it and one out back. So whenever we finished, we could step out into the snow and, my musicians could, have their smoke and just watch the deer up in the woods, that kind of thing. But
that's cool.
Now that I live in the city, I don't really have a home. I'm not saying I'm homeless, but my studio is I sleep here, but it's my workspace really. So so it's kind of one and the same. When I have a home again, I'll have that. I'll have my sarasas and my shubunkin and my koi swimming about in a pond again. But to that point, right now, I'm just a studio man. So I live and breathe around it. I mean, my manuscripts are all over my desk. When my desk is not clean, like right now, it's clean. And when I'm working on a book or something, it's full. And then I've got paintings stashed in this corner and all over the walls, and and my music instruments and things are in the other room where I do most of my work musically. So I switch from one valve kind of seasonally creating. Yeah. So
I think I think a lot of times it's good to be in that kind of productive environment. I would watch it. I always watch all these documentaries because I'm a music kind of historian.
Oh wow!
And I was watching a documentary about the band. The band Dylan.
Yeah.
And they had Big Pink, which was this little
That's
house.
right.
And they felt that was like the best way to record because they like lived and they breathed like all those early band albums are all coming from like Big Pink. In the basement tapes and stuff. They're coming from there, and there's a difference when you hear a band, able to be in an environment where it's that creative.
That's right. It may not be praised or appreciated at the time, but in hindsight, when you look back in whatever era, you have to just give it credit and just be and you're left thinking like, whoa, that was magic, because so much of that you can't replicate and you can't imitate.
No, it's totally. It's like really. It's original and it's heartfelt, and I think what a lot of people don't get. So sometimes that kind of raw recording, maybe it doesn't have the best technology, but it's got the heart and it's got something that's deeper.
Sure.
Than the tech. We're just using a reel-to-reel 4-tracker, and it's using not the best mics in the world, but you capture Richard Manuel singing, and his voice is unbelievable. And his in Helms. You hear these guys, and Robbie Robertson's guitar playing is like phenomenal.
Wow.
There's the ability that he had to not be a showboater, but when you listen to the band, and you listen to what he used to do, is he was brilliant. He was able to not be flashy, but he had these brilliant runs that would kind of go through the song, and he's soloing through the whole song, but he's not showboating.
Yeah. Wow.
He just services the song. And I think a lot of people can learn from that.
He was traveling through the song.
Yeah. I think that I've always appreciated guitar players that can kind of, they're songwriters,
Yeah.
More than just being like a lead guitar player. They're a songwriter. They care more about the song than trying to do some elaborate kind of ego thing.
There we go. Yeah.
So I want to give some time to your project where you're supporting Black Lives Matter on What's Going On, that classic Marvin Gaye song, and I'm going to be pushing that out on this hyperlink to help support that.
Thank you.
Maybe you can talk about how that came to be and what you're trying to do with this.
Okay. Did you hear it?
Yeah. I actually was listening to it this in the last couple last hour.
Very good. Thank you. Well, I think really it's for me, it was kind of like if Marvin Gaye were alive now, he would be, I don't want to say re-performing that song, but he may be saying this is exactly the reason why.
Well, he wrote it.
Well, exactly. Because anybody can look at a Wikipedia page and see things, and they think they have all the facts, but the truth of it is, it really had to do with more than just Vietnam and what was going on at the time. And I kind of got around. I took artistic liberty with saying just because our skin is black or brown, not the line that's because our skin is just because our hair is long.
Yeah, you changed it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, Marvin's hair was shorter than the hair. When it takes me 2 weeks to grow a shadow, but on my chin. But his hair was no longer than that. So I know the point of that song was really, really about the police brutality and the racial divide, because Detroit was a hotbed of it, much like it is still today and at this time. And the Funk Brothers and the Motown fellowship, meaning even the people that listened to them and followed their music and knew these artists personally, they were relating to the undertones in that song. And Marvin was smart because he knew that if he, wrote or probably sang a line as bold as I did with his song, hope he wouldn't be offended by that.
I think he would be totally into it. I mean, given where he was at the time, he was talking
right,
about environmental destruction.
It wouldn't have gotten promoted the same way, and it may have even been shelved or even denied in some places to be played because because it's like artistic revolt.
Yeah, I mean, Barry Gordy wasn't really into it at first, right? He didn't really want him to go that way.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, because you're stepping on toes when you do that.
Yeah, I mean, because Barry was about making the hit that's going to get a lot of money, and he appreciated Black art, but he wasn't really trying to touch those hot points.
That's right, yeah.
And then Marvin and Stevie started going that way, and he was kind of like scared of it. I think, and I've seen like interviews where he was like, he was not totally supportive of those directions.
Right. You see, there you go. So you know what I'm talking about, but I just really wanted to, because a lot of people nowadays they hear an original song and they think, oh, they're copying off of some artist of today, and it's like, what? That's the original song, man. Because they think old school is 3 months ago or 3 years ago, and it's like, man, don't come on, and they don't really know what old school actually means, or
Yeah. I mean, they don't listen to Lead Belly or Robert Johnson.
Sure, right. So they don't know that a lot of these songs that have been biting off of the originals for years, or doing renditions, they don't really know the roots of it. So all I wanted to do really is kind of not take the helm, but kind of reverberate what Marvin said in his day and in his lifetime.
I think really with the George Floyd, what's going on, and with all these like police murders,
sure,
and this stuff is real heavy, and it never really went away. Music.
That's right.
Music maybe stopped talking about it. Maybe in the hip hop world, there seemed to be a lot of political, elements, but then a lot of soul music kind of went away from it.
Sure.
And I've always been drawn into, the James Brown like Hell album.
Oh wow! I don't know.
Have you ever heard that? That's like his most political album. That's like talking about Watergate era.
Oh wow!
Stuff, and it's real heavy. And you wouldn't expect James would do that because sometimes he was on the wrong side of stuff. But he did actually make some statements in that album. And I've always been very into what Curtis Mayfield was doing.
Oh yeah.
I mean that stuff is just killer. I mean I just love it when you get a great soul singer, a great band like the guys the way the Front Brothers or a guy like Curtis Mayfield, when they really lays it down. I mean, oh my gosh, And Marvin on that album is just like it's unbelievable.
Oh wow.
So for you to do it, I think people need to go back and listen to that, because I mean, I think people really need to get into that mindset again.
Yeah. Wow, I appreciate you saying that. Just tell me about this. I mean, because a lot of the things that you're mentioning, I'm not going to say, it's just before my time to write it off. I'd never heard of some of these albums.
Yeah. But I mean, you check out James Brown Hell. It is a great soul funk record that is talking about like society at the time. It's kind of talking about how it's kind of, it has this line, it's hell trying to, pay the rent, it's hell trying to, eat food because of inflation and because of the way the world was in that point in the 70s. You had this kind of inflation period. You had this kind of, everything was starting to not go right. And he's like, baby, he's catching hell. Like the black man's catching hell, the black woman's catching hell, everybody's catching hell. Yeah, it's just something that it didn't get as popular as his other songs because it was political. But it's just like what's going on. I mean, it's making a statement.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's a funk statement.
Yeah.
It's kind of hip hop. I think Dr. Dre probably sampled it in some of the stuff. James and Parliament are heavily sampled. So I think I've heard it before in snippets on some hip hop records, but I've got the original. And if you like what's going on, you probably should check it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get you to send me a couple of links of things so I can check them out.
Oh yeah, I could send you a link if you're on Spotify. You can catch it. But yeah. So this is a GoFundMe that you're. What's your goal on GoFundMe for this? I've seen that link.
Yeah. As you know, with the times we're in, it's tough all around for all of us, but specifically musicians, myself included. So, but I have to do it because I can't wait on the musicians that I work with and that I have worked with to do it, because I'd rather not just be talking about something. So I'm just trying to raise money to be able to continue a lot of the work that I'm doing collaboratively with other artists that I'm going to be working with. And these aren't just artists that are in my circle, so to say, but they're artists that I'll be working with on my instrumental albums, and even some of the actresses that I like to use in videos. So that's really what the GoFundMe campaign is set up for, basically to bring a lot of these projects that I'll be doing collaboratively into fruition. So,
well, I think that's what I've seen lately is like Spotify added like a PayPal Me link, so artists could get funded. SoundCloud has done the same thing because one of the big things as a musician is like we tour, we play shows.
That's right.
And ever since Corona, the fans, they support us through the streaming services, but streaming services don't really pay the rent.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so artists get funded by doing shows. Since going back to the Motown days, they didn't write the songs. The only way that Four Tops made money is they had to do shows.
Yeah.
The only way the Temptations made money is going and doing shows.
Yeah.
Dinner clubs.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the same thing today, which is kind of sad. I always get upset when I see a band has to make more money selling their merch.
Yeah.
Do from their music.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just trying to make people aware, like, when you see a GoFundMe for an artist, or you see a PayPal Me, or you see like a Patreon, and you love that artist, you really should support them, because so many people are distracted today. They go into their video games, they buy an Xbox game for $60, but they won't pay $10 to the band they love.
That's right. Yeah.
And so if you love music, I think you need to keep music alive and support the bands you love.
Wow. Yeah. Right on. Yeah, you're right.
So I just always tell the young folks that, Xbox is cool, but like if you like that band, you say you love them, don't just stream it. Buy it on Amazon.
Yeah.
Buy the CD, go buy their T-shirt, go buy their poster, show up to their show.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping, that we find new ways. Have you found, because of Corona, new ways to do like live broadcasts to keep involved? I know you're doing videos, seeing your video work. Have you done any kind of live casting or online concerts?
Well, actually, what I'm doing mainly right now is I'm working on 2 different albums. So it's not that I've ruled that out or just not looked at that sort of thing yet. But I'm just in my lab creating, which is my my passion, and so that's where I kind of am right now.
That's a good place to be. That's a good place to be. A lot of artists I've interviewed have been doubling down on their recording.
Yeah.
Since they, a lot of artists in this time period, during the year are at festivals, they're doing shows, and they don't have as much time to record.
Right.
Record on the road, on the tour bus, on the plane. they're doing stuff in their hotel room, but then they get back from the tour and then they really start recording later. And now people have been able to maybe focus on things that they hadn't thought of. I was talking to this artist lately. They actually learned how to do orchestration, how to arrange orchestration so they could add that to their projects, and spent like 3 months learning how to do that.
Right.
And so people are kind of doubling down on their creativity.
Yeah. Speaking, I just put out an instrumental album, I would say, month before last.
Yeah, I was listening to that. I was actually listening to that album. It was called Nacreous. Yeah, I was very interested because it's like, wow, you're not singing on this.
Yeah. Well, I've got 3 instrumental albums, and and then the other album, as I mentioned, with the GoFundMe project and things that I want to raise funds for collaboratively. The album When I Come to Paris is going to be more of a jazz influenced album, and so I'll be working with musicians that have the proficient chops, and they will be performing.
So is it like bebop or like free jazz, or what type of jazz?
The romantic jazz.
Romantic.
I would say, like there's the title track When I Come to Paris, and then there's another track, The Sentiments, The Subtleties of Her, and
that kind of jazz. I can kind of
yeah. And so I'll be sure to send you a track or two to give you a sample as I get into that. But some of those I'll probably be doing. I'll probably only sing like maybe 30% of the album, but it's basically or mainly musically influenced.
So are you getting more? Are you deciding to kind of go that way because where you want to be more experimental and less pop oriented?
I'm all over the place, and I've been told for years, like, hey, you need to choose a genre, and then there will be musicians that would take up for me, hey, mind your own business or blank off, He's always done that, and that's true. I mean, even in my art, if you have seen my work, I go from cubism to expressionism to Fauvism to pointillism to realism to I mentioned impressionism, but I've been influenced by so many things in my
maybe you should give
life.
me a link to your artwork so I can include it, because we can include multiple hyperlinks. So if you've got like a page where your artwork is for sale or anything like that,
definitely
want to promote it, just send me through the direct message the link, and I can put it right on this podcast.
I will definitely do that. Definitely.
Yeah, because my daughter is an artist. She's a graphic artist, and we've been pushing some of her stuff on my Instagram. You can probably see her art.
Yeah.
She's been doing some things, but I appreciate art because she's a graphic artist, and she's been really pushing that world for me. She's been we've had to do gallery shows for her, and some of them got postponed because of COVID. We were real excited that was going to be in a gallery in Boston, and then COVID happened.
Oh no!
So she's actually transitioned to this art collective for all of these young artists, and she's been pushing this artivism, this art activism. So she's into supporting supporting mental illness in the arts.
Okay.
And there's this artivism type of thing going on where the young artists are kind of pushing causes, and she's really into that.
Oh, excellent.
I really like your album Songs for a Doe. That for some reason I got really drawn into. I watch a lot of Korean dramas.
Oh wow!
On like Viki and Netflix, and I kind of got drawn into that record because I watch a lot of Korean actors on these Korean dramas, which I've been watching for years. I've gotten drawn into that kind of soap opera
Kim
thing. And
Kim Si-hyun, Song Hye-kyo, Kim
yeah,
Tae.
yeah,
Yeah.
Lee Min-ho,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been drawn into that stuff all the time. So it was interesting to listen to your. How did you come
Thank you.
about that record?
What you just described exactly, and I'm very fascinated with the Korean language and just the culture in general. If I freakishly went platinum tomorrow, I'd probably get my
go to Seoul.
I'd get my whatever I would need to be able to. I've got my passport, but I'd probably head straight to Seoul to do videos for that album. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I like the vibe on it. I like the whole sound of that record is really cool.
Oh wow,
I appreciate it. And you have such a big catalog. I just started diving into it, and I'll be listening to more.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's just very exciting to talk to an artist like yourself that's kind of cross genre. That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, the album I wanted it to kind of reflect the same kind of happy that I get when I see a Korean movie or when I see their little variety shows and I'm sure I'm on the outside looking in, so there's always different facets to any culture. But I can say, fortunately, that I lived in Koreatown in LA when I was going through the lowest point of my life. I really gotten to my lowest point. Nothing to do with drugs or anything. I lost about 40 pounds, lost all my hair, came out of a bad relationship, and it was a meltdown from that. So, and during that time, I was living in Koreatown, and this, even though I can't deal with all that LA sun all the time, I need snow. I need rain.
Yeah, you need the Northeast four seasons.
Need rain. I need something that can make all the bad people go inside. Some cold weather. But anyway, I really enjoyed it because it was calming where I lived, and the people were very. I mean, there were just your everyday American people around, but I didn't know that I was living in the heart of Koreatown, and I was seeing all these different stores, and then I met a friend named Seng Chun in LA, and he started introducing me to Korean music, IU, and then I met a friend here, and she started introducing me to so many different things with the Korean culture, so it just kind of spawned from there. So I wanted to I don't want to say give back, but I wanted to reflect that same happy that I started feeling.
What's interesting is K-pop has become a really big genre. A lot of Americans are actually into it where they were, so much before.
Right.
And interesting side note, I spent 2 years in Japan in my alter world. I'm an IT guy, and 2 years in Tokyo. I was in downtown Tokyo for 2 years. And I just used to run over to Electric Town, we called it Akihabara, and go into all these shops that had all these Rolands.
Oh wow!
And all these old synthesizers from the 70s and stuff, and effect guitar pedals from Boss, and real space echoes, and in Japan you can find all kinds of crazy gear.
Oh man!
And I was just totally enamored with the whole culture. I love the food. I love the respect.
The respect, the honorifics,
the honorifics. The idea of I was an outsider, but the whole idea was they never made me feel like an outsider. In my own country, I felt like I can feel more of an outsider than I did in Tokyo for 2 years.
Oh wow!
which
Wow.
is a kind of
That's why.
testimony to America.
Yeah.
But it's really strange. People said, "Oh, you're going to have a lot of trouble there." I said, I came back. I said, "No, I had less trouble there than I ever had in the U.S."
Wow.
And I live in the Northeast.
Yeah.
I don't live down south.
Right. Exactly.
So we come on.
Yeah. Me having lived, from being born in the South and now living in New York for so many years. I've gone through both aspects of the dynamics of the U.S. So this culture allowed me to see a good light. So I wanted to, just artistically interpret that.
Well, I enjoy talking to you, and we're going to push this out within the next hour. It's going to be on 11 platforms.
Oh, wow.
We are on Spotify because we actually are a Spotify company.
Oh, wow.
And it will also be on Apple. It'll be on Radio Public, Google Play, and a bunch of other ones. I will send you like the top links from like Spotify and Apple so that you can promote it as well as the Anchor FM link. And we have a cool feature because Spotify, we have an integration on Instagram where we can actually attach a highlight that will go to the Spotify version of the podcast.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Once we put it on your Instagram, we'll put it on our channels, and then people will be able to click on it, and then we'll put it in our story, and you can reference our story. You can create your own. We'll do ours, and then you'll see how it works, and then you can decide if you want to build your own. But we will send you all these links within the next hour, and we'd love to talk to you again. We've talked to artists that we talked to multiple times, 3-4 times on the podcast. So when you have your album ready to go, we could talk about that when you're ready.
Excellent, and I'm honored, and I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate the time and the opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. We're gonna push this out. We're glad to have you on the program, and everybody go out and purchase and support LORD TOPH. And you really need to help the artists that are out there. So look at his GoFundMe, look at all the material that's out there, listen to it, download it, and push it to your friends if you love it. That's how artists get out there and spread the word.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being on the program. Have a great night.
You too. Take care.